You think silence means it's over? Think again. That's exactly when the real game begins, and you have no idea how you're being tested. Most people fall into a psychological trap during silence. They think it's just a pause, a break, but in reality, it's a strategic chessboard, where every second of silence is broadcasting a message. The question is, who's actually in control? She's not texting, not calling? You may think you're the one initiating no contact. But here's what you don't realize, she's playing her own game. And it's not what you think. While you're confused, wondering what's next, she may be observing every move you make, not to reunite, but to see whether you've truly changed. No contact isn't a strategy to win someone back. It's a spiritual challenge, a test of character, and only those who master stillness can uncover the truth hidden behind silence. This isn't about who reaches out first. This is about who you become in the silence. So, when you enter the realm of no contact, and she's doing it too, what's really happening? Are you drifting apart? Or are you standing at the threshold of the greatest opportunity you've ever had to transform yourself? In the sections ahead, we'll dive deep into 10 essential truths that combine ancient Stoic wisdom with the sharp edge of dark psychology, helping you not just understand this situation, but master it. You'll discover why silence might be the most strategic move of all, how to stop reacting and start responding with power, and most importantly, how to turn distance into magnetism. Get ready, not to wait for a message, but to reshape who you are while others are still watching. 1. When both of you are doing no contact. You've made the decision to step back, no texts, no calls, no reaching out. You're trying to stay composed, trying to focus on yourself. But then, something unexpected happens. She goes silent too. No messages, no signs, no movement. Both of you vanish from each other's world. And in that silence, something begins to stir, not in your phone, but in your mind. Your thoughts start whispering familiar questions. Is she thinking about me? Then, more painful doubts creep in. Has she already moved on? As the silence stretches on with no closure, you begin to feel like you're trapped in a game with no rules. And the deeper the silence, the heavier your heart becomes. It no longer feels like a break. It starts to feel like psychological warfare. This is the moment where most people crack, not because the longing is too much, but because the uncertainty is unbearable. Not knowing what's really going on is a torment in itself. What is she thinking? Is she waiting for me to make a move? Has she already found someone else? These questions hit like crashing waves, relentless and overwhelming, and when the anxiety reaches its peak, many people crumble. They break no contact, send a message, make a call, just to escape the silence, only to be met with colder silence than before. But something strange happens in this stage. Silence stops being the enemy. What becomes more painful is the feeling of losing control over yourself. You start to feel small, invisible, and even question your own worth. This isn't just a test of patience, it's a test of inner strength. It challenges your ability to stay grounded when everything around you feels uncertain and out of reach. It's easy to assume that silence means she doesn't care. But if you look deeper, you might realize she could be feeling the exact same thing. Maybe she's confused too. Maybe she's struggling with her own emotions. Sometimes silence doesn't mean she wants distance. It means she doesn't know how to come closer. And this is where you have to choose. Will you react like everyone else? Or will you stand still like someone who's built for deeper storms? Will you break the silence just to soothe your anxiety? Or will you learn to live with uncertainty and transform it into inner power? You are not alone. Many have stood exactly where you are now. But only those who dared to embrace the emptiness, who held their ground through the silence, walked out of it stronger. Not someone who begs for reassurance from the outside, but someone who builds unshakable strength from within. You don't need to prove anything right now. You only need to stay centered. Because the moment you choose to remain silent, that's not the moment you surrender, it's the moment you start becoming someone greater. And sometimes, silence speaks louder than anything you could ever say. 2. Her silence is a deliberate move. Don't mistake her silence for indifference. It's not that simple. She's not quiet because she doesn't care. She's quiet because she knows silence can make you feel the absence. This isn't a spontaneous reaction. It's a calculated move, a silent strike designed to shift the balance, to see who you really are when words are no longer there to anchor you. And if you're not steady, you'll be the first to break. Many assume that no contact is a man's strategy. But the truth is, women know how to use it too, often with more precision and psychological depth than you'd expect. When she doesn't reply, it's not because she forgot, and not because she's too busy. It's because she's choosing not to respond. That silence is a message, a weapon, a statement, and the danger lies in how you interpret it. You're reading it through emotion, through fear, through longing, instead of seeing it through clarity and composure. When a woman goes silent, especially after a string of emotional exchanges, it's rarely random. It's a psychological play, crafted to test your limits, to shift the power dynamic, to see if you can handle not knowing. This is where most people get trapped. They believe they're in control of the no-contact phase. But in reality, they're being controlled by her silence. They think they're leading the dance, but they're the ones being pulled along. One invisible step at a time. But here's the truth no one tells you. Silence only has power if you let it control you. The moment you react, the moment you send that message out of anxiety or loneliness, you hand over your power. Without even realizing it, you've admitted that the silence shook you, that you couldn't stay grounded when the attention stopped. And from that moment on, you're no longer leading, you're chasing. Here's what's even more fascinating. She might be watching, not to play games, but to see if you've truly changed. She wants to know, without the validation, without the daily comfort, without any emotional signals. Who are you? Will you crumble, or will you stay grounded? Will you show up as the same man she once knew, or someone who's grown stronger in the storm? That's why stillness is not weakness. It's a weapon, but only if you know how to wield it. When you choose to remain silent, not as a tactic to manipulate her, but as a space to rebuild yourself, something powerful shifts. The silence no longer feels like emptiness. It becomes evidence of your growth. If her silence is an attempt to reclaim control, let her, but never let it strip you of your center. Because real power doesn't come from who texts first. It comes from who remains composed when no one is speaking. And if you understand this, you won't need to make a move to regain control. You'll let your energy speak for you. Her silence is a move. But the game isn't over. And you don't have to break the quiet to win. Let your calm speak louder than any words ever could. Because sometimes, the one who stays silent the longest is the one who truly owns the game. 3. No contact is an opportunity, not a defeat. You might be thinking this silence is the beginning of the end. That no contact means you've lost someone. But that's the biggest mistake you can make. No contact isn't proof of failure. It's not the sign that something has died. It's the opening to something far more powerful, the chance to rediscover yourself. This silence isn't meant for waiting. It's meant for rising. The Stoics said something simple yet profound. You have power over your mind, not outside events. And when you truly live by that, you start to realize that what's happening isn't a contest between you and her. It's a challenge between you and your inner world. It's not about who lasts longer, who texts first, or who misses the other more. It's a test of whether you can hold your ground when the outside world becomes uncertain and quiet. In a world where everyone reacts instantly to messages, notifications, and noise, silence becomes the most uncomfortable force. No one teaches you how to sit in stillness without losing your mind. No one shows you how to feel worthy when no one is affirming it. And that's exactly why no contact is so powerful. It pulls you out of your comfort zone and forces you to face emptiness, loneliness, and that aching sense of being unvalidated. But hidden inside that silence is a rare opportunity, the birth of inner strength. This is the stage where the unprepared rush back into contact, not because they want to reconnect, but because they can't handle the feeling of being out of control. But you're different. You're here to build something deeper, the kind of inner grounding most people never experience. Because if you can stand firm in the silence, you can stand firm in anything. And if you can remain steady without a response, you'll never again rely on someone else to feel like you matter. The goal isn't to make someone come back. The goal is to become someone who no longer needs them to feel whole. When you stop seeking validation from others, you begin to uncover who you truly are. And that shift, that deep transformation, doesn't just change your relationship with her. It changes everything about the way you live. Don't see no contact as punishment. See it as a gift of space, of healing, of quiet rebirth. This is not dead time. This is sacred time. Time that will shape you in ways no conversation ever could. And the beauty of it? You don't need anyone to witness your growth. You'll feel it for yourself, in the strength you carry, day after day, without saying a word. You are not failing. You are being forged. And not everyone has the courage to walk through that fire. But you do. Because the one who learns to use silence as a tool of transformation becomes someone no loss can ever break again. That is true strength. 4. The power of silence in dark psychology. If you've ever wondered why the quietest person often ends up living rent-free in someone else's mind, here's the answer. Silence hits the deepest layers of human psychology. It doesn't attack with words or actions, it strikes with absence. And that absence forces others to create their own narratives, to fill the void with questions, assumptions, even regrets. In the world of dark psychology, the one who can't be predicted, who can't be controlled, always holds the advantage. Because uncertainty breeds obsession. Silence, when used with purpose, is not avoidance, it's a weapon. It doesn't need to speak or confront to demand a response. It triggers the mind in a quiet but powerful way. What makes silence so potent are three core elements: scarcity, unpredictability, and mystery. When you're constantly available, you become familiar. But when you disappear, you become a question mark. Scarcity is the first strike. Human beings take for granted what's always within reach. But the moment you vanish, no texts, no presence, no attention, their mind begins to race. The possibility of losing you suddenly makes them value what they once overlooked. You become more precious not because you've changed, but because you're no longer easily accessed. Then comes unpredictability. People are addicted to patterns. We crave consistency, routines, expectations we can rely on. When you break that cycle, when the person who used to reach out suddenly goes silent, it creates a mental disruption. They start asking, "What happened? Did something change? Are you done caring?" You flip the script. You move from being the one who wants answers to the one they're trying to figure out. But the final and most magnetic force is mystery. Humans are naturally drawn to what they don't fully understand. When you don't explain, when you resist the urge to clarify or seek closure, you become an enigma, and the mind hates enigmas. It will dig, imagine, and even invent stories to fill the gaps. That's when you begin to occupy their mental space without ever speaking a word. But none of this works if your silence is rooted in bitterness or manipulation. If you're playing games, the energy behind your actions will be obvious, and the effect will fall flat. Real power comes when your silence is grounded in self-respect, stillness, and a quiet decision to reclaim yourself. That's not a tactic, that's strength. Here's the truth. You don't have to force someone to think about you. The moment you stop being easily available, when you pull your energy back, your silence speaks louder than anything you could say. It becomes a presence in their mind, a subtle pull they can't shake. And that's when you've truly shifted the dynamic, not by chasing, but by standing still with quiet confidence. This isn't about making someone suffer. This is about learning how to have influence without needing attention. About knowing your values so deeply, you no longer feel the urge to prove it. Because in a world where everyone is screaming to be heard, the one who chooses silence at the right time is the one who leaves the deepest mark. 5. True silence comes from detachment. There's a profound difference between staying silent to make someone feel your absence, and staying silent to find yourself again. One is a game of manipulation, the other is a journey of healing. And that difference is defined by one often misunderstood word: detachment. Most people hear detachment and think of coldness, numbness, emotional distance. But the truth couldn't be more opposite. Detachment isn't about stopping your care. It's about no longer being emotionally dependent. It's not that you no longer feel, it's that you're no longer controlled by someone else's actions. Silence only becomes powerful when it comes from a place of inner peace. When you go quiet not to hurt someone but to heal yourself, you step into something far more transformative than any conversation ever could be. Because sometimes what you need isn't to be understood, it's to begin understanding yourself. You pull back not out of weakness, but to reset your energy. That's not surrender. That's strength in its purest form. Practicing detachment means learning to stand in the storm without being swept away. It means watching your emotions rise without letting them dictate your behavior. When someone goes silent on you, you don't panic. You don't jump to conclusions or break your boundaries out of fear. Instead, you remain grounded. You don't operate from the need to be noticed. You operate from self-mastery. And that is the foundation of lasting power and authentic attraction. Maybe you've believed that if you don't reach out, if you don't show how you feel, you'll be forgotten. But that's the trap that keeps you chasing validation. And you're not here to beg for someone else's approval. You're here to remember that your value never depended on whether someone saw it. You've had it all along. Detachment is loving someone while still choosing your own peace. It's caring deeply without letting their response dictate how you treat yourself. And when you reach that point, your silence is no longer empty, it becomes a sacred space. A space for you to repair, to rebuild self-respect, to finally listen to yourself, without all the noise. You don't need to act cold to protect yourself. What you need is to learn how to stand tall without anyone holding your hand. Learn how to love without losing your center. Learn how to be silent not to provoke a reaction, but to restore your own alignment. Because true detachment doesn't make you heartless. It makes you untouchable by fleeting emotions. And once you've mastered that detachment, you stop worrying about who's drifting away. Your focus shifts to one question: am I growing closer to my true self? That's the kind of silence that doesn't hurt, it heals. The kind of stillness that doesn't come from distance, but from deep self-understanding. And it's that understanding that gives you real strength, the kind that no longer needs to be chosen, loved, or kept in order to feel whole. 6. Reasons why she might also be doing no contact. You think you're the only one doing no contact. Think again. She's gone silent too. And that silence isn't random. Behind every unanswered message, every moment she chooses not to reach out, there are reasons deeper than you might expect. Not all silence is the same. Sometimes, it's not that she stopped caring. Sometimes, she's just trying to protect herself. And if you're not wise enough to recognize that, you'll completely misread the message that's hidden within the quiet. The first reason might be the simplest: she's mirroring you. You've gone silent, and she's reflecting that energy back. Not because she's playing games, but because it's a natural psychological response. When someone feels you've pulled away, they don't always chase. Sometimes they step back too, not to punish, but to see if you'll step forward. She's not doing anything other than showing you exactly what you've shown her. And if your silence is a power move, don't be surprised when she plays that move just as well, calmly, intentionally. The second reason may be deeper: she's healing. Maybe the relationship left her hurt, confused, or emotionally drained. Her silence isn't a cry for attention. It's a sanctuary, a space she's creating to find herself again, to regain her footing. She's taking a step back to ask herself, what do I need? What do I truly deserve? This isn't about whether you reach out. It's about her learning how to show up for herself before showing up for anyone else. The third reason is one many overlook: she's watching you. Not to judge, not to manipulate, but to evaluate. She wants to know who you are in her absence. Do you panic and chase? Or do you grow and rise? Are you the same man she once knew? Or are you evolving into someone more grounded, more centered, More whole? Every decision you make during this silence is sending her a message, even if you don't realize it. Then there's a fourth possibility. She's reclaiming her power. Maybe she was always the one who initiated, who reached out first, who kept the connection alive. And now, she wants to see what it feels like to stop carrying all the weight. This isn't about revenge. It's about rebalancing. It's about reasserting her worth after giving too much for too long. And finally, perhaps the most important reason of all, she's waiting to see who you become. Not just to decide whether or not she'll come back, but to truly feel whether your evolution matches what she's grown into. In this quiet space, you're being observed, not with her eyes, but with her intuition, with her energy. She's listening to your silence, not just what you say, but how you move, how you live, how you grow when her presence is no longer holding you up. And if you really understand that, then you'll stop seeing no contact as a waiting game and start seeing it as a stage to show who you are, without saying a word. Don't assume her silence is the end. It may be the exact pause she needs to look inward and ask, is he still the man I used to know? Or has he become someone who makes me rethink everything? And if you're truly becoming that version of yourself, you won't need to announce the transformation. She'll feel it, even before a single word is spoken. 7. The biggest mistake is chasing. Nothing makes you lose your position faster than chasing out of panic. The moment you send a message just to ease the tension in your chest. The moment you make a call simply because you can't handle the silence, you're doing something you'll regret later. You're handing over your power. Without even realizing it, she doesn't have to say a word. You do it to yourself by letting emotion dictate your actions. From that moment on, you're no longer in control of the story. You're reacting to it. You're no longer the author. You're a character being written by your fears. Chasing doesn't begin with your hands. It begins in your mind with fear. Fear of losing her. Fear of missing your chance. Fear of being forgotten. And it's that fear that leads you to make the wrong move. You're not steering the ship anymore. You're being swept by the current. You're not making choices. You're being pulled into impulses. And the cruel irony is this. You think you're fighting to save the relationship. But in the process, you're losing yourself. Stoicism never teaches you how to cling to someone. It teaches something far more powerful, self-mastery. The ability to stay composed in chaos. To respond with reason, not react from desperation. That's when you stop being the one who's led, and become the one who leads. Every emotion you're feeling, the longing, the worry, the regret, it's all valid. But when you let those emotions turn into uncontrolled actions, you're signaling that silence has more power over you than you do over yourself. Don't send that message just because you feel empty. Don't make that call just to hear a voice that soothes your anxiety. Don't chase after a temporary sense of relief at the cost of your long-term dignity. Because once you begin chasing, you're screaming, without words, that your worth depends on someone else's attention. And that's when you don't just lose them, you lose yourself. Want her to look at you differently? Then don't act from weakness. Don't let silence break you. Let it shape you. Learn to stand still without falling apart. That's the mark of someone with depth and strength. When you choose not to act from impulse, you're sending the strongest message of all. I'm grounded enough not to beg for presence. And that energy, that stillness, is what makes people stop and re-evaluate everything. Don't confuse action with strength. Sometimes, real strength is found in restraint. Sometimes, the most powerful statement is made in silence. And sometimes, what you don't do is exactly what makes the biggest impact. Chasing isn't love, it's fear. And fear is never the foundation of real connection. If you want to reclaim your value, if you want to be the kind of man who cannot be shaken, then start with one simple act: stop. Stop before you tear down what you've spent so long building. Stop before you give away the last piece of your power. And stop long enough to remember what Stoicism has always taught: the one who controls himself can never be controlled. 8. How to build inner strength. True strength isn't about appearing tough on the outside. It's about holding steady when the world around you is falling apart. It's not built by avoiding discomfort, but by facing it head on. And the remarkable truth is, you can train this kind of strength, moment by moment, using tools passed down through centuries of Stoic wisdom. Quiet, subtle, but powerful enough to change how you face every challenge that comes your way. Let's start with negative visualization, the art of imagining the worst-case scenario. Not to fall into despair, but to take the fear out of it. Close your eyes and picture it clearly. What if she never comes back? What if your messages remain unanswered? What if this chapter is truly over? When you dare to stare directly at the outcome you fear most, you begin to reclaim power from fear's grip. You're no longer avoiding the pain, you're acknowledging it, preparing for it, and showing it that you can still stand tall. That's not weakness, that's silent courage, the kind that lives in those who've matured through adversity. Then comes journaling, a quiet act with massive impact. When emotions surge, don't react impulsively. Write. Let the page hold your sadness, your frustration, your longing. On paper, you'll see truths that panic blinds you from. You're no longer drowning in your feelings, you're observing them, honoring them, and processing them. And every word you write is another step toward reclaiming control of your inner world. Now, shift into mindfulness, the art of returning to the present moment. Don't let your mind spiral into endless questions like, is she thinking about me? Or, would things be different if I had reached out first? The past is already gone. The future hasn't arrived. The only thing you truly own is this moment. And in this moment, you can breathe, you can choose, you can be whole, not because of someone else's presence, but because of your own. That's the quiet strength no one can see, but everyone eventually feels. Finally, there's amor fati, love of fate. Not just the beautiful parts, but even the ones you once wished away. It takes a different kind of strength to embrace what didn't go your way. But when you learn to accept everything that happens as a necessary part of your growth, you stop fighting reality. You stop needing life to go according to plan. You begin to see challenges not as curses, but as chisels, shaping you into someone sharper, wiser, and more grounded. These 4 tools, imagining the worst, writing through your storms, grounding yourself in the present, and loving your fate, won't make you invincible, but they will make you unshakable. They will help you stop trembling in the face of loss, stop grasping for control in things beyond your reach, and stop needing someone to return just to feel whole again. Because peace doesn't come from someone choosing you. It comes from you choosing yourself, again and again, no matter what the world throws your way. And when you can do that, no matter what happens next, you've already won. Not against anyone else, but against the fear that held you hostage for far too long. 9. Respond strategically, not emotionally. As the silence stretches on, there's a powerful urge that starts to build, to break it. To send a quick message, a subtle signal, to make a call in hopes of re-establishing the lost connection. But what separates those who stay grounded from those who fall apart isn't whether they act, it's when they act. And why? Those who respond impulsively are being led by emotion. But those who respond strategically, they're the ones who maintain control, presence, and power. Silence is not dead time. It's sacred time, the space where you rebuild yourself. Instead of wasting energy checking her social media, wondering what she's thinking, what she's doing, or who she's with, turn your gaze inward. Focus on your body, train it, fuel it, restore it. Focus on your career, refine your skills. Take control of your finances. Pursue what you've been putting off. Reignite your passion. Return to the dreams you abandoned, to the things that once made you feel most alive. Every quiet step forward is a loud message in disguise. You're not just surviving this, you're evolving through it. And if one day the silence is broken, if she reaches out, or you feel it's time to initiate, make sure it comes from stillness, not scarcity. Don't do it for validation. Don't do it to test the waters or to fill the void. Do it because you've reached a place of calm, where you're no longer attached to the outcome. When you speak from that space, every word carries a different energy. It doesn't beg, it doesn't cling, it simply communicates, grounded, composed, whole. Strategy isn't about manipulation or games. It's about mastering your internal state so you don't fall into emotional traps. When you remain detached, you don't have to reclaim power, you already hold it. And more importantly, no matter what the outcome is, you remain someone who walks away with dignity. If she responds, you're ready. If she stays silent, you stay steady. The one who responds with strategy isn't cold. He's wise. He knows real strength isn't proven in the heat of emotion, but in the quiet power of restraint. He understands that attraction doesn't lie in who reaches out first, but in the energy you bring when you do. Come with desperation, and you push others away. Come with peace, and you become magnetic. Live like there's nothing to prove. Message like there's nothing to lose. And walk forward knowing that no matter what happens, you are still the author of your own story. That isn't a tactic. That's power. The power of someone who doesn't let silence unravel them, but uses it to rise into their highest self through every choice, every action, every step forward. 10. The goal isn't reconnection, it's transformation. If you're approaching no contact with the sole intention of getting her back, you've already missed the point. This isn't about playing to win, it's about using the silence to rebuild yourself from the inside out. This period of quiet isn't here so you can sit around waiting for a message to appear on your screen. It exists so you can send a message to yourself, loud and clear. I'm becoming someone who doesn't need anyone's permission to feel complete. And once you truly grasp that, you stop trying to make someone miss you, and start making sure you don't forget who you are. Not reaching out isn't punishment. It's not arrogance. It's the space you create to step out of the emotional noise and stand in front of the mirror and ask, am I living like the man I once dreamed of being? And if the answer is no, This distance becomes your gift. Not to fix a relationship, but to repair your life. Because here's the truth. When you fight to win someone back, you risk losing yourself in the process. But when you fight to reclaim yourself, you become magnetic, not just to her, but to the world. Real attraction doesn't come from words. It doesn't come from perfectly timed messages or well-crafted silence. It radiates from the energy of someone who no longer needs validation to know they're enough. The truly captivating man is the one who can stand alone and still be grounded. Who lives fully without waiting for someone to come back. And ironically, it's often in that very detachment, when you stop hoping for a specific outcome, that you become unforgettable. You're not here to win her over. You're here to win over the parts of yourself you've been avoiding. To break the old patterns. To stop repeating emotional cycles. To move forward instead of circling back. And if one day there is reconnection, let it be the natural result of your genuine evolution, not the reward for playing the long game. But even if there isn't, you'll still move forward with clarity. Because you'll understand that real happiness was never in her hands to begin with. The greatest victory isn't someone choosing to come back. It's you realizing you no longer need them to feel whole. It's when you look back and say, I didn't just survive the silence, I grew through it. That's when you stop waiting for a happy ending and become the kind of person who can write any chapter you want. When you understand that the goal isn't to make someone realize your worth, but to never forget it, even if they never return, then you've stepped into a whole new level of freedom. You no longer chase reconnection. You become the deepest connection you've ever needed. A connection to yourself, strong, steady, and unshakable. That's the real victory. And it always belongs to the one brave enough to let go of longing and step into transformation. Closing statement. If you've made it through all 10 parts of this journey, you are no longer who you were. Because silence no longer scares you. Distance no longer makes you panic. And longing no longer turns you into someone who reacts out of weakness. Now, you understand this truth. No contact isn't a strategy to get someone back, it's a path to getting yourself back. You've learned how to stand tall without waiting for someone to save you. You've learned how to release control and claim peace. You've learned how to love without attachment, stay silent without losing presence, and grow without needing anyone to witness your progress. That is real power, not in the hands of the one who returns, but in the heart of the one who keeps moving forward. And if you felt something real in these words, if they stirred something deep within you, then leave a sign. Hit the like button, not just to support the channel, but to affirm to yourself, I'm choosing the path of transformation. Share this video with another man who might be lost in silence right now. He may not say it out loud, but he needs to hear this more than you think. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel, where we continue the journey of self-mastery, emotional strength, and becoming the kind of man who cannot be shaken. Remember, true strength isn't the absence of pain. It's the ability to turn pain into power. And you, yes, you, are already doing that. I'll see you in the next video. Stay grounded, stay growing, and never forget who you're becoming.